Now, I want to get into some tips for this retrograde, okay? Because I got a lot of them. I got a lot of tips. I have gone through this Mercury retrograde. All of us, really, so many damn times. We've gone through this retrograde so many. So I feel like I'm a retrograde master at this point. I feel like I really am. First things first, communication. Okay, communication. Let's talk about it. I have notes, so excuse me that I'm looking at my other screen. I typed up these notes on Monday. God, I can't believe it's been a whole week since I left Mexico. Oh my God. Okay, so this month, okay, communication is basically the area that Mercury retrograde affects the most. The Mercury retrograde is the sign for communication, okay? And that's why Geminis are ruled by Mercury, okay? That's why they talk so much. I love you, Geminis. I really do. But it is the planet that rules communication, written, oral, broadcasting, anything, okay? So expect communication to be fucked up this month. However, this is what I will say, and this is my tip to circumvent that fuckery, okay? Opt for verbal communication, especially in your relationships. Like, Mercury retrograde will fuck you up in the most weirdest ways. Your man might text you and be like, hey babe, what you want from Popeyes? And you'd be like, oh, give me my 5-piece, okay? And then he come, and you texted that, right? And he gonna come with the 5-piece chicken wings, knowing damn well you like 5-piece wings spicy, okay? And then got you coleslaw, and you know he know you always get the fries. So in your head, you thinking, oh damn, baby, you know my regular Popeye order. Why you fuck with me? And he'd be like, oh damn, you ain't specified. So this is my point, and this is the dumb little bullshit. And then y'all getting a whole ass argument over some goddamn Popeyes. This is how Mercury retrograde will get your ass. I'm telling y'all what I know. Not that actually happened to me before, but it's a really likely scenario. Okay. So when somebody calls you and be like, oh, what you want to get to eat? Do a voice memo, do a quick call, so they can hear the tone of your voice, so they can hear the inflection. Because the other thing is too, you could say, oh, get my 5-piece, and the other person might read that thing like, oh, why you being short with me? And you just might be doing some dishes, you know? People just perceive your communication so differently. You'll perceive people's communication differently. So that's why in Mercury retrograde, I opt for verbal communication. And especially if you have something serious to talk about, be like, hey, I want to talk to you about something real quick. Don't make it too heavy, because people get freaked out when you say you want to talk to them. It would be like, hey, can I have 5 minutes? I just want to talk about something real quick. Nothing to worry about. Just want to talk about it over the phone. So that y'all can I have to watch. Listen. Today is the first day of the retrograde. Might be doing it. We need to be prepared. So I want to also say, do this for work as well, because there have been plenty of times where I used to use Slack a lot at work, which is basically a basic chat platform for work. And your Slack messages will get misconstrued and all over the place, or this is what used to happen to me a lot in Mercury retrograde. I would over communicate, because I'd be so afraid that someone won't understand what I mean, that I type too much, I write too much. My email is 6 pages long, because I'm trying to just make sure that my thoughts get across the right way. And I'm just like, knowing damn well I need to just be like, you know what? I really just need to schedule a meeting with this person. I just need to schedule a call, because I can solve it that much faster. Now, also staying on the topic of communication and work, in those meetings, when you opt for an in-person meeting or a call or video chat, whatever, make sure you recap that shit, because Mercury retrograde is the time where people are forgetful. It is the time where you be like, okay, I'm doing X, you're doing Y, and we're going to come back for Z. And the day for Z comes around and ain't nobody got the shit ready, and everybody done forgot. Listen, I'm just telling y'all what I know, okay? So write the shit down, send a recap email, make sure everybody's on the same page, schedule check-in points if you have to, because this is the time period where balls are dropped. All the motherfucking balls are dropped. So do your part to make sure that you can keep them in the air, okay? And I want to point out, I know I used to work with some people in France, and for example, people in French culture, recaps after meeting is a very American thing. We love to recap a bitch. We love to be like, okay, so I'm going to go to the mall on Saturday, and you're going to go get your nails done, and we're going to meet back for a latte at 6. We love to do that shit. French people, for example, don't do that. They be like, okay, you know what you're doing? I know what I'm doing. Okay, cool. See you later. And you be like, wait, do we know? So what I'm saying is, in recap, I know there's a social layer here. Just be sure to communicate in a thoughtful way. Hey, again, I'm speaking specifically about work scenarios. Hey, do you mind if I send you a recap email? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and so that we don't forget. So that when you relay this information, nobody takes that shit personally. Because some people of different cultures will take a recap personally. They go like, you don't trust me to do my work, bitch? For real? Sorry, I feel like I'm talking so fast. Let me just slow it down. I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like I'm talking like a fucking racehorse. Okay, now, technology. I'm surprised the live has kept up with my ass this time because I was getting dropped off last night. But anyway, technology. Expect technology to fuck you up, okay? There have been so many times, not this laptop, but my old laptop, child, I had to get my keyboard fixed so many times during a Mercury retrograde, and it wasn't until I realized later after the fact that my laptop kept breaking during Mercury retrograde. So this is the time to like be smart. Don't have your drinks unnecessarily close to your phone, your remote, your computer, nothing, okay? This is the time to treat your devices like little baby birds. I don't like double up the fucking phone case if you have to. Make sure that warranty ain't expired, okay? But don't get a warranty, and I'll get into contract later. But you know, treat your products like they're fucking gold, okay? Don't, because this is the time where they will break, they will crack. So do everything you can to protect them. In addition, this also is the time where like software programs don't work right. Like let's say your phone is supposed to update. This will be the time period where your phone is just like, we're not updating. We're trying, but we just can't. Like your phone will not. It just won't. It won't update, and that phone not updating is causing like 6 of your apps to not work. Listen, just know that it's not your phone. It literally is planetary aspects, and I bet you, a week after the retrograde, your phone will be fine. But that's just to take it to right. It just be like that. It just be like that, okay? And I'm trying to tell you so that you don't get upset, because these are the things that used to get me upset. I used to be like, why is everything blah? Just roll with it. Just roll with it. Be like, you know what? It's not meant for me to use these apps right now. That's how you have to look at it and see, okay, these programs aren't working. My smart TV likes to fuck up all the time. Be like, okay, I'm not supposed to watch TV right now. What else do I need to do, Spirit? Ask Spirit what they want you to be doing. I'm a CPU tech, so I don't have I am so happy that you don't have these issues, because let me tell you, it's a bitch. Now, let me look at my notes. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes the examples I wrote, somebody needs this. Again, going back to protecting your devices, things that you would normally do that are fine. Like, let's say every time you go to the kitchen and you have your laptop with you and you put it on top of the fridge while you get a drink. Stop doing that shit this period. Because this is the time that the laptop, and you do it 1,000 times and it's fine. This is the time that it will fall and it will break. So again, just treat everything like it's super fragile. I don't know why I had that example in there. Okay, now, also don't buy technology. And this is a tip from Susan Miller. I love Susan Miller. She's a renowned astrologist. I love Astrology Zone. That's actually, I read her article on Mercury retrograde years ago, and that's a lot of these tips are from her. But all of these are my personal experiences. Don't buy technology. This is not the time to buy technology. If you need a new phone, if you need a new TV, if you need a new car, this is the time where you need to rent that bitch. You need to go your ass to Rent-A-Center, Aaron's, or whatever, and get the shit for 30 days, try it out. But this is not the time to buy it, because when you buy it, Mercury retrograde is the time where things aren't long lasting. Whatever appears in your life, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a gig or a job, whatever comes into your life during a retrograde is typically not long lasting. So let's say you get a new phone during a retrograde. That bitch probably gonna break before the end of the goddamn retrograde, or maybe even a few weeks afterwards. So don't take that risk, especially because these are typically expensive things. So just wait, okay, for the next, just wait like a week or two after the retrograde. Hold out as long as you can. Now, if you can't do what you gotta do, I would say, okay, specifically if it's your phone, I don't care. I swear to God, I'm not playing. If my phone broke during retrograde, I swear like hell, I would get a flip phone like a bitch. I will get a track phone. I will get a burner phone in a hot minute before I invest in a new iPhone during a retrograde. I used to work for Aaron's. No one ever mentions that place is always a rent-a-center. Listen, my parents, they used to stay at Aaron's and Rent-A-Center, okay? They used to stay in there. And that's why nobody knows. You could literally rent a laptop or whatever for a few days, a few weeks for like the low. So I would say that's the way to go if y'all need to, need something quick. And it's also a cool way to just like try out a product before you buy it. And they normally don't, because I have so much experience. They normally don't really care if you got good credit or not. So, they just want your money, really, at the end of the day. All right, now let's get into, real quick. Also, cars rule transportation, if you think about it, it's technology as well. So also, don't invest in a car during retrograde. Just don't do it. Something is going to break with it. Like, you'll buy it and you'll think, oh, it looks good, it looks straight, okay, cool. And the next day or a week later, the fucking some fluid pipe, like, I don't know cars that well. Something's gonna go wrong with that bitch. Okay. Contracts. Now, contracts is a tough one for me because I always feel like contracts are inevitably come up during a retrograde because, again, it rules communication. There is normally some binding agreement that pops the fuck up during a retrograde. Especially, it used to happen to, I would silently, whenever I had contracts at work, I would always try to, like, I didn't want anybody to think I'm crazy. So I would always try to push them off because I just had that responsibility. So if I knew I had a contract had to be executed, I would delay. I would try so hard because I didn't want it executed during a retrograde. So sometimes you have to do what you need to do. But typically, just like technology, if you have to execute a contract, this is the time where normally there's a lot of back and forth. Nobody can come to an agreement, or maybe what terms you might have thought were good later, you check later, and there's a clause in that bitch that says some fuck shit. It's not really a good time, to get in a long-lasting contract. And I will share an example with you guys about contracts. A few years ago, when I moved to the city, I got my first manager. And this is where sometimes you have to do what you have to do, especially if you're moving, you need a lease, you need like right, except an Aaron's contract, exactly. If you got a lease or whatever, sometimes you can't avoid it and you really just have to pray over that shit, honestly, truly. But I had gotten my first manager in New York, and we worked really hard for this moment. Of course, I've graduated, I've been hustling, and finally I got this person who's like interested in representing me. So so she called me in and she said she liked me, she wanted to represent me, and I was like so excited. I'm like, someone wants to represent me, but it was of course a retrograde. So naturally, when things like this happen, you only have a certain amount of time to decide because you as an actor are the product. So they don't want you to shop that offer around, right? It's just like any job. They don't want you to take too much time to go to another job. Be like, well, I have this other offer on the table. You have a certain amount of time to say yes or no. So I looked over the contract. My friend looked over the contract, whatever. I had my family looking at it. And it was like a 3-page contract. It was really nothing crazy. And I liked the woman. I did like her. But in those now the contract was written that we had a 2-year agreement. And then after the 2 years, we had to renew for another 3 years. Now, in acting, your age is everything. So a bitch ain't got 3 years to be fucking around. So after the 2 years, in that 2 years that I was with her, I only got 2 jobs. I booked like 1 job a year. And granted, I had a bunch of auditions. Now, that's twofold, okay? One aspect was I was still developing as an actor. So I was still growing my capability. 2, I personally do feel that she wasn't the right person to be advocating for me. I won't go into that too much. She was great and she was sweet and she was great for my start, but it was like breaking up with a boyfriend. After the 2 years, I had to be like, okay, like I'm sorry, I don't want to continue this anymore. It's like actually really difficult breaking up with a manager or an agent because they're working so hard for you. And it's like, you know that, but it's kind of like, fuck. So again, I signed that contract in Mercury Retrograde, and I held on to a 2-year relationship that was really mildly beneficial for me. So again, do what you have to do, but I at that time just didn't see any options for me. So I don't know how I would handle a situation like that now. I probably wouldn't have delayed it. I probably would have been like, look, I'm gonna need 4 weeks. I'm gonna need 4 weeks to sit on this. Do what you have to do. Pray on it if you can, but you know, avoid signing contracts during this period. Now, relationships. Now, these are romantic, these are family, these are friendships. I actually like this aspect of Mercury retrograde because this is the time where folks will pop out of the woodwork, okay? The motherfucker you ain't talked to in 6 months gonna be like, how you doing, Whit? I swear to God. Or the friend that you haven't talked to in ages is like, you know, either you reach out or they reach out, whatever. I love that part because I love reconnecting with friends I haven't talked to in a while. That is one positive thing I like about retrogrades. But especially for me, like I keep myself busy a lot. So it's a nice time for me to slow down and be like, to catch up with my friends, to catch up with people, to catch up with your relationships, basically. This is the perfect time to revisit some of those relationships that you value, whether they're romantic or whether they're platonic, either or. I love that aspect of relationships. But don't be surprised when people do come out of nowhere. This is the time where people will like, and it'll be like, it'll be people you ain't talked to in like years that you wouldn't even think about. You'd be like, the fuck you come from? Like, the hell? And let me just tell you right now, sis, it's your drip. It's your drip, because you shining, because you glossing and you flossing, okay? They're just attracted to it, bitch. They had to come and say hello. Now, lastly, I want to talk about projects. I've been waiting. I want to talk about projects. So in this day and age, our attention spans are essentially non-existent. So one other aspect I love about retrogrades is, I touched on it earlier, it's about revisiting projects. Like for me, some of my projects that I still haven't done, I have a scrapbook, like a family scrapbook I've been trying to get together for the longest time. I have the scrapbook. I bought it a long time ago. Still haven't been printing the pictures. I might get to it this retrograde. I don't know. I have like 30,000 other ideas that I need to execute before I do that scrapbook. But this is the time where that one project that you didn't get around to, or maybe there was a course that you paid for that you didn't quite finish. This is the time to finish it. And it won't even be like, you could consciously make the choice to be like, you know what, I think I want to pick that up. It's Mercury retrograde. It's a good time to do it. But 9 times out of 10, it'll just be like an innate desire. You'll be like, you know what, I think I want to finish that project. I think I want to revisit that. You won't even relate it to the retrograde. You won't relate it to the retrograde till like later. You'll be like, oh yeah, I did finish that project during the retrograde. So that's the other aspect I love about it, because it allows us to feel a cycle of completion, basically, allowing us to feel like, okay, you know what, I put that down, but now this is a good time to pick this back up. And I was just talking about the Friday blood. I painted furniture. Yes. This is the time to do it, y'all. And I feel like I had more notes, but I have obviously said a lot. My main point is, I want to close with this. Don't feel like the sky is falling. Don't be so scared of Mercury retrograde that you hide under a rock for the next 25 days. Just be hyper aware. I want you to be hyper aware of what Mercury retrograde affects, so that you can make conscious, thoughtful decisions that you're not going to regret when we come out of this. Because also be mindful about who you meet. A lot of times you will meet friendships, you will meet people, you will meet flings that aren't going to be long lasting. So if you meet somebody during a retrograde, whether it be a business relationship or a romantic relationship or a friendship, I'm not saying it's not going to last. I'm not saying that, because a lot of times you meet people in retrograde seasons because you were the relationships that end up being long lasting because you're being forced to change how you interact with that type of person, or more specifically, spirit wants to force you to act differently towards a relationship. Not necessarily that person, but they want you to think differently about it. So, but separate from that, a lot of times these relationships will come in to teach you something, to make you grow or whatever, but don't expect them to be long lasting. And a lot of times these people that pop the fuck up in retrogrades, you'll be thinking they are the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, you'd be like, oh my God, this is the love of my life. I've been waiting. And then 4 weeks from now, they gone. Or you'll think, oh my God, this is the person that's going to take my career to the next level. Yes. And then 4 weeks from now, they be gone. Okay. But they are meant for you to grow and to develop. I'm not saying that relationships that you have can't work, but they are going to test you. The relationships and the people that you meet during a retrograde, for sure, 100% will test you. They can work, but they're going to test you. I feel like that's a good note to leave my tips and tricks on. Do y'all have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, my people in the live? I want to see the furniture still. Nope. Amazing. I love it. I will let you guys get back to your Saturday. Thank you for joining me. I love you. And have a wonderful weekend. Bye, y'all.